My mom used to be at flea markets selling like desserts and cakes and stuff like that. That turned into me when I was 10 years old, like on the street corners in Philly, like selling oils and shirts. So that started the entrepreneurial mindset right there, where you start to see that, okay, you can do these things, you can have this impact, and you can control your own destiny depending on how you want to work and hustle.
How to beat the trap. Hey, peace, family. It's your host, Jay Morrison, and welcome back to The Trap in another episode of How to Beat the Trap. And I got a special guest. I always got special guests, but I don't know. This guest might be like special. My brother, man, entrepreneur, doctor, dapper, king, Dr. Sanford, man, who I call Doc Smooth.
Hey.
Owner, my chiropractor, right? Owner of Atlanta Spine Doctors, yes, and co-owner of Breakfast at Barneys.
Yes, sir.
And a few more things I'm sure he got up his sleeve. Yeah. We're going to talk about that. So, Doc, How to Beat the Trap is a podcast where we bring on amazing and extraordinary people who've been able to overachieve and beat some of America's most infamous traps. Such as the college trap,
right,
the corporate trap,
right,
the corner trap,
right,
or the culture trap. And sometimes it's not even beating the trap, but leveraging the trap, right, to our advantage. Because the trap is defined as a program or system that's designed to entice or entangle us, but secretly for the benefit of another. So a lot of times these things are set up and we think they're for us, but they really ain't for us.
Right.
And we get caught up in it and we never break free. You've been able to beat a few traps, and we're going to talk about that in this podcast. So I want to start first by reverse engineering of who you are today, what you got going on today. We know you got the big three and that whole collab and all of that. So I want you to talk about all that. This is your time to talk your stuff. This is about you.
Talk me.
Right, this is about you.
All right.
And then we're going to talk about, how you got here. So folks can literally pull from your story and learn more from your story. So who is Dr. Sanford, a.k.a. Doc Smooth, man. Talk to him.
Dr. Sanford is an entrepreneur. I tell people, although I'm a doctor, I've always been a businessman, a hustler since birth, as far as that goes. And right now, people know me as, the celebrity chiropractor that takes care of the pro athletes, the entertainers, and things of that nature, and also co-owner of the world-renowned now Breakfast at Barney.
World-renowned Breakfast at Barney.
So,
crispy edges on the pancakes, I'm trying to tell you.
With the 24-karat gold pancakes, royalty right there and everything.
Right.
So people know about that. But it's just, I'm a diverse entrepreneur. On top of that, CBD, ASD Wellness, where we do CBD products as well. And then amongst other ventures, whether it's cryptocurrency, whether it's stock. The biggest thing for me as an entrepreneur is to be diverse. It's as simple as it is don't put all your eggs in one basket. That's how I operate as far as that goes. But that's the in a nutshell, that's the business side. The other side, I'm a social person, a philanthropist, so I want to make sure that whatever capacity that I can operate, whether that's the students to help them avoid those pitfalls of the college traps, or my entrepreneurs out there, or anyone that's just, that comes in our path, our people that we just can help in any type of way. That's one of the goals of mine, so awesome. That's the other side of me.
That philanthropist, that servant in you.
Absolutely.
Right. So let's talk about, man, obviously I've been to your office several times.
Yes, sir.
Many faces on the wall.
Yes.
Let's talk about some of those celebrities and just amazing people you've worked with.
Man, okay, so
I know you're going to miss some, you don't want to get nobody mad. So disclaimer, is not his fault.
Right. It's not that I don't want to talk about all of them, it's just that I can tell you that people in the music industry have been through there. I'm still a doctor, so I'm still bound by certain things. But some of your people from Atlanta Hawks players, past, current, and Atlanta Falcons players, all across the NFL, people in the entertainment industry. I'm cycling through my mind on whose name I can actually disclose as far as that goes. But it's some of your favorite entertainers that I've had affiliations with, whether it's people along the lines of, let's just say, you'll see pictures on the wall in my office, such as Neo and different people. You'll see that come in there. You'll see athletes from the past and the current, whether it's the big three players, all the way to people like Josh Smith, that's in other Atlanta Hawks players. You'll see a little bit of all of those.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you'll see and entrepreneurs, a little bit of everyone.
And I see you've been doing something kind of exclusive or consistent with the big three.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Right. So the big three, and again, this is me as an entrepreneur, but like I say, entrepreneur first, doctors second is just how my lane is that fostered a relationship, and that started with a good friend of mine, Deion Glover, which was a standout player here in Georgia as well as an Atlanta Hawk, and he went for the Big Three basketball league. I was his personal doctor at the time, and then at that point it was about networking, and then the other players actually saw the benefits of the chiropractic and sports rehab and the laser therapy and things that I do, and they wanted me to come on board. So at that point, and that was from the very inception of the league, I met everyone from Q to all of the different people, but the players exclusively, they wanted me there. And at that point, started taking care of them. And that's been, they're going into they just finished the 4th season.
Wow.
So, and that's something that I mix in where I'll travel across the country at the same time to take care of those guys. Amongst other pros, yeah.
Awesome. And now this world-renowned restaurant here in Atlanta that if you've been under a rock, I mean, even if you're out of Atlanta, you probably have heard of Breakfast at Barney's.
Right.
Tell us about, I mean, just this a restaurant, the success it's had, and all that.
There's nothing like it. You know, that we filled the void that was missing in Atlanta, missing in our culture, somewhere where you could go and receive great food, ambiance, service, but it was something that was missing.
Amazing service.
Yeah, it was missing in Atlanta. It was missing for our culture, and we wanted somewhere where you have all the different situations where people are going into establishments and they're not necessarily being celebrated, and they're having to deal with these adversities where you're going in and you're spending your money. So we said, you know what? It's time for us to stop letting everyone else build everything up, and for us to build up the block, us to actually put something here for our people where you can come in and actually be celebrated, from everything from the West African wallpaper on the walls to the black TV shows that are playing, to the black music or the R&B music, you name it, that's playing. And then just to kind of see that and go into a place where you see the royal decor, you see where you're celebrated as an individual. That was something that we did for the culture.
It's true black excellence.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, Breakfast at Barney's true black excellence with amazing black food.
Amazing food service, and ambiance. And I'll tell you, one of my, I had 2 really proud moments with that restaurant. Me and my partner Pancho, Barney, which I'd be remiss to mention. For one, was that we hired over 70 black entrepreneurs in actually building that. So, wow. I mean, so that was awesome. And then the second part was actually being able to just recently give out several HBCU scholarships, to individuals and students. So definitely those are 2 of the kind of crowning moments amongst being happy about the food and the success that we've had worldwide.
Yeah, staying true to the service.
Absolutely.
You guys have had lines around the corner. I mean, just the who's who there.
You name it.
I had the pleasure of attending your birthday party there. Nice turn up.
That's a nice
and you want a doctor that turn up too. He's your guy.
Right. We work hard. We enjoy ourselves. We play hard.
Right. Awesome. So, all right. So you have this illustrious career, entrepreneur. A lot of times we grow up, other than Heathcliff Huxtable, we don't think that we can become the black doctors.
Right.
But also just not a doctor and boxed into just a corporate, I'm going to be a doctor and I've arrived. Like you said, this diversity of entrepreneurship, other businesses, and giving back to the culture and serving in that kind of way. So what gave you, let's kind of back up a little bit. We're going to reverse engineer now. Let's back up a little bit.
Yes.
And I want to start at the beginning of your story, but before I begin to that, what kind of I guess, gave you the entrepreneur bug, as opposed to just saying, you know what, I'm a doctor. That's enough for most people right there.
Right.
Yeah. Where did that come from?
Man, I guess that kind of does go into the reverse engineering, because it's been in me for a long time. I mean, when I was 10, I'm from Philly, so I was on.
Matter of fact, I'm gonna pause that. So, where'd you grow up?
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Where'd you grow up, and how was it growing up?
Okay, got it. All right, so I grew up in Philly, in Southwest Philly. Went to school in North Philly. Growing up was great. I mean, I had my parents, they were separated, but they were still present. My pop worked maintenance, but he was a hustler on the side, and everything from selling women's clothes to whatever else business was handled. And then my mom worked multiple jobs. It was good. I mean, grew up in the hood, so it was one of those things where you want to find your way out of that trap, you know, but I mean, or make that situation better, I should say. And they taught me entrepreneurship. You saw the work ethic right there in the beginning. But even when I wanted to get things, when people wanted to get like video games, I mean, I didn't have Nikes and all that stuff. Like at first growing up, it was like, look, you're going to get these, whatever. You know? And,
I don't care what they're doing out there.
But that came later, you know, as far as that goes. But I remember even wanting to get my first game system. My people said, listen, you work and you get the money, this half of it, we'll give you the other half. So it was like, okay, I got to start to learn how to make some of this money. My mom used to be at flea markets selling like desserts and cakes and stuff like that. That turned into me when I was 10 years old, like on the street corners in Philly, like selling oils and shirts, you know, and then just kind of working, doing that stuff. So that started the entrepreneurial mindset right there, where you start to see that, okay, you can do these things, you can have this impact, and you can control your own destiny depending on how you want to work and hustle. You know? So that's kind of where it started.
How'd you get your first oils and shirts? Like, where'd that product come from? How'd you get your plug?
That was crazy. And that goes into, you know, I don't think any of us are, you know, we're not success by ourselves. And I had to look back to, that was some of my older brother's friends. They were actually working, and they would actually take me into the shops where they would pick up the shirts and the oils and pouring out the oils and the vials. And they would say, look, okay, let's get to work. And then I'll take you over there. And then whatever you sell, you get some of that. So I was consignment.
You got fronted.
So that
consignment. Put you on your feet, boy.
So consignment, and I wouldn't have been there without, you know, them looking out for me from that standpoint. And that started as that avenue,
That's super dope, though, because a lot of times in our community, you know, my first consignment was an OG in my hood, King Keel and Science. You know, they gave me a half gram of coke. And said, look, bust that thing down and bring me back XYZ. But for you to get fronted some oils and T-shirt, much better route. Much better route for you to go. So, all right, so you did that. We're making some money for yourself. Did you ever get that video console, video game?
I did, that was like the first Nintendo. It was one of them Nintendos or something like that, But I ended up getting that. And then at that same note, I was going to school. I was selling snacks. I was hustling snacks on the same note. And the thing about it was that I was in a blessed position too, because I mean, you grow up in Philly, people know like North Philly crazy. I mean, West Philly crazy. I mean, it's all crazy, you know, and it's all situations and traps that you can like fall into here and there. But like you said, the OGs, you know, so from my side of things, it was like, all right, so I hooped a little bit, but on the same note, they saw I had little brains, and like, so you might be on the corner, you might be doing this, or you might be playing ball and smoking, like, catch you do whatever, you know. But then they be like, you know what? Nah, Shy, you not doing this. Like, you going to do this right here. I still got partners, you know, that's up there, that's, you know, in the mix. But I mean, and those are real friends, or like, you know, people that you can like really look back and appreciate. So I mean, you never forget that where you come from, because those are also those pivotal moments where you could go this way or that way. So I definitely remember that.
Did you find yourself going up through those environments where you took your shot and tried to dabble a little bit because it was around you?
You know what? I didn't, because of what I saw and what I had. I mean, I had my brother was older. My brother got incarcerated as far as like for situations. So I was going back and forth, kind of visiting and seeing it. I was like, man, taking these long trips up to upstate Pennsylvania and stuff, you know, I mean, like
Barneys too, like
man, it's like, you know, but you want to be there. But I was like, this ain't where I want to be, you know what I'm saying? Then I got a homeboy, and then he gets somebody come to his door, shoot him in the face, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, thank God he lived. So then you start to see all those different things, and it's like, you know what? Nah, this ain't for me. I got this stuff right here going on. My people gonna be on me. My brothers, my sisters, they all gonna be on me anyway. Like, nah, this ain't you.
He on me,
like, this ain't you. So we gonna put you in this situation right here. Like literally when I was like I was seeing all this stuff coming up through school because I went to a school where, like, in 5th grade or so, it's the school called Girard, like, where they sent you away because, like, the hood was so crazy, like, where they sent me away. But I would come home on the weekend. So it was like I was away, but I wasn't. So I was still kind of in the mix with it. But it was one of those things. It's like, look, we doing all this stuff to get you out of this situation.
Right.
Don't mess it up.
Right.
You know. So yeah, you kind of know you start to see that installation of responsibility that you got to have at a young age too. So, yeah.
All right, so going through high school, you mentioned playing ball, was bright, etc. What'd you aspire to do, as you went through high school? What was your aspiration?
Right. I started to find it out later when I was in high school. I was like, okay, it's crazy. I wasn't great at math, but I was good at dollars. I was like on the math, but I'm all right with dollars. Right. Started having an affinity for science. So then it started to turn into, from the athletic side, I was like, okay, well, I hear about this physical therapy thing. So I wanted to be a physical therapist. I went and volunteered at a hospital downtown in Philly. Had to get some community service hours. Did that. And I think that's one of the biggest things, even with our community, is exposure. Because if you don't have that exposure, it's kind of hard to see. That's the vision that you want. Although I'm a chiropractor now, I had no idea what a chiropractor was back then. So but it was just different things. And this is like a side note, for example, so like even with sports and athletics. So like I played golf when I was like 14 years old. And I was like, but I was piecing, like my people were like saying, get some money, piece together some clubs out of, I don't know, what was it, Walmart, Cole? I don't know what the store was back then, but just piece some stuff. I'm catching a bus in Philly, like all the way out to the Barneys to try to play some golf. And that was because I saw Michael Jordan playing golf. Wow. I was like, all right, I want to see what's up with that. I ain't see nothing in the hood. You playing wall ball, basketball, whatever. Right. But I saw that, and it was like that was another aspect of the exposure, and that's the biggest thing. So that's when it comes to like how did I get into it back then? I thought it was going to be physical therapy. That later changed when I went to school, though.
Awesome. All right, so you're going through high school, you're thinking maybe I might be a physical therapist, right? You're getting exposure to golf and golf culture, right? And all of that. So your mind's expanding, and then you end up going to school where?
Morris Brown. Here in Atlanta. Here in Atlanta.
Did you get a scholarship to go? Or?
I did. And that was another part. I did a HBCU tour. So, and at that point, I came down to, actually my brother was down here like two years like prior, and I came down to visit and I saw Atlanta.
You said Atlanta. I like Atlanta.
I said Atlanta.
It suits me.
It's nice weather. It's nice sisters. I think that's where I need to be.
Especially from Philly. You like, yo, it's warmer down here. It's friendlier down here.
Friendly. What?
A lot of women.
Right. So this is where I need to go to school. So I originally was actually supposed to go to Clark, and but then I did a whole program there. I mean, I got accepted. I was fortunate. I got accepted to a lot of schools down here. But then Morris Brown actually offered me a full ride scholarship. I had some smaller school scholarships up in Philly, like basketball, but I want to get out of Philly. It's time to go. It's like, I was like, if I can make a way down in Atlanta and play ball, if not, at least I go. And I think that's the important thing that I try to tell students is that, or just people in general, is don't limit your options. So like for me, I was fortunate because I had the option to play ball or get an academic scholarship. If that's your path, like school isn't the path for everyone, but if that's your path, get as many options as you can, create as many options. So for me, I was able to, although I didn't have basketball scholarships down here, the academic aspect worked because my people told me, like, my pops ain't had no money. Like, my mom's, they didn't have money like that. My pops like, look, you need to find a way to get to school.
Right.
He's like, I ain't got it. You figure it out. You go into the military like I did, because he went into the military. He's like, you can figure that out. I was like, all right, well, I like to control my own situation, so let me figure this out. And and that's how Morris Brown, it worked out for me. So I'm definitely indebted to them and look out for them as well.
A Peace Family real estate pioneer, Jay Morrison, coming to you live from the Black House. Why haven't you got your first of its kind video interactive video textbook experience, the 12-step real estate crash course. This book will make you a real estate power player in real life with over 6.5 hours of video lessons with 290 pages of real workbook experiences, tests, quizzes, assessments that give you the skill set, mindset, and formulas needed to dominate in real estate and be a power player in any part of the industry in real life. Homeowner, realtor, wholesaler, landlord, flipper, developer, don't matter. You need this book. Your family needs this book. Go tap in. The link right now for your interactive, first of its kind video textbook experience in real life. Tap in.
12stepvideotextbook.com.
Absolutely. I just saw something on Instagram with you being honored there, I believe, right?
Man, yes, I appreciate that. Yeah.
That's awesome. So, okay, so you go to Morris Brown, you think you want to be a physical therapist, a little bit of ball, right? But you got your academic scholarship.
Right.
And then what?
Man, and then it's like, okay, let's get immersed in the culture per se. Let's make a way. You down here, it's a mission. Your mission is to get to this point of being able to be a physical therapist. So start networking, socializing, meeting people. But I ended up becoming like president of this health careers club there. We brought in different speakers and things of that nature. And one of the speakers that we brought in was actually from Life University, the chiropractic school here in Atlanta, or Marietta. And when we brought him in, he said, "Hey, what are you doing with yourself?" And I said, "Well, I'm thinking about physical therapy." I was also slated to go do cancer research for the government. So I did cancer research in like Bethesda, DC area for a little while too. So, but I was like, okay, well, I'm going up here in a couple months. He's like, well, look, you need to come to this summer program at Life before you go up there. So I went up there, and it was a minorities program that they did, and that exposed me to chiropractic.
Wow.
And when I got exposed to it, I started I got to just like it. So mind you, the other side of the basketball thing where I wasn't too heavy on it at a certain point was because I had like a back injury. And it was like, well, I couldn't play as well as I used to play. I used to have back problems all the time, even just sitting, whatever it may be. But I also have like a weak immune system, get sick a lot, colds and stuff. So I go to this summer program, I get adjusted, and all of a sudden, like my back stopped hurting. I'm starting to feel better, like not getting as sick. I'm
Good old
like,
adjustment, boy.
man, I'm like, this might be something to consider. So I started talking to my people. And they like, so now I'm like, okay, well, man, I could do everything a physical therapist can do. I could do more. I could be a doctor. I could do this right here. And these people kind of want me. Excuse me. So at that point, it's like, all right. And that's how I ended up going back. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I went to do the cancer research. They offered me a position up there in Bethesda, but I'm more of a people person. So there you're doing like lab work, did some great skin cancer research up there. But I came back down, and I was like, you know what, this chiropractic thing, this was happening. And that's where it went.
Gotcha. So you end up going to Life.
Yep.
After you graduated Morris Brown at that time?
Yep, finished Morris Brown. And for me, like I finished, Morris Brown only has summer graduations. I finished in December. I ended up starting Life in January and then going back to graduate. So I was just doing all kinds of stuff.
Right.
But I ended up going to Life and then going from there.
Gotcha. So out of Life, you graduate, right? Mm-hmm. Did you immediately start your own practice? You started working for someone? How'd that journey
talk about some traps, man. That's when it gets really interesting. Unfortunately, and this is why I say, like, I've been blessed with the entrepreneur side, because most doctors are horrible business people. I'm just gonna say that's like, there's no shade. But if you ask them, they'll tell you that too. Most of them are horrible because traditionally it's, okay, you get this degree and all the magic is right there. All of a sudden I'm doctor, the whole world's supposed to come to me and everything, or I'm supposed to have this job.
I got the degree, I got the thing,
that's not how it works. And there's a lot of doctors, don't listen, I'm here to tell you, don't let people fool you. It's nice to have a degree, but you still got to put the work in and hustle there. So I'm getting out of school and I'm deciding like where I want to go. Now you have like a couple options when you come out of school. You can work for someone, you can be an associate, or you can go ahead and start your own business, or you can do contracting. Now per se, I knew that I just from growing up all the way through, I didn't want to work for anyone.
Right.
Like that was it. So I was like, all right, I got to find a way to not work for somebody, because I believe that when you work for yourself, the one thing's for sure is that you can always just look yourself in the mirror. It's no glass ceiling. It's like, if it's not getting done, if you're not making as much money as you want, if you're not seeing as much progress as you want, whatever it may be.
You know who to blame.
Just go look in the mirror. So that's always been
Trap bars.
Yeah, that's always been my mindset. So with that in mind, I said, man, I don't have any money. Hell, I was lucky just to get out of school right here, student loans, whatever it may be. So I didn't have any money, but I said, what I can do is I can be a contractor. So an independent contractor, at least in the healthcare field, is that more so you find a facility, but you pay whoever owns the facility a percentage of that particular amount of the money that you make. But they provide the facility for you. You just have to get the bodies, and then you operate that way. But you're operating under your own company. So you formulate your own company, formulated my own corporation at that particular time. And then it was like, okay, now it's grind time, because they're going to give you a spot, but they want to see some bread at a certain amount of time. And if not, you got a problem and you won't have a spot. So it went in a hustle mode, but I started as an independent contractor.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Give us a quick tip of some of the first things you did to market yourself and to get customers. Right now, your business is booming.
Man, right. Yes.
How'd you start, though, as a young doctor, fresh out of school, to get to, you know what I mean? Like, what was your thought and strategy? What was that grind like?
And I was doing everything. And I'm talking about, like, when I first started, I might have 1 or 2 patients, and I was living, like, south of the city, traveling all the way up to Alfred. I'm talking about, like, an hour plus. And you hope your appointments show up, because they might not show up and stuff. But the thing about it is that when they didn't show up, or if I only had one person, you have so many hours in a day. You have 12 hours. You're going to sit around and just look around, or you're going to make something happen. So for me, it was like, okay, let's start exhausting these options. So the first things I did, I was printing out flyers. I was up there in Marietta and in the MARTA stations and everywhere else. Like I'm a club promoter, but I'm handing out flyers like hey, come see me, come get adjusted. Like, to the point where MARTA called the office and was like, hey, y'all are like literally in the parking lot, because I'm just going on cars and everywhere. They just like, listen, like, yeah, you can't be doing all this.
Doctor grinding.
Hustling, like, man. And then it went from that. I was going to different businesses as far as they go. So they have, so one of the first things that I started, this actually turned into a whole scenario, was that so I was like, man, this is like, so I've been practicing for 16 years. So this is like, you're talking direct mail. I was like, okay, you know what? Let me try to get a little bit smarter here, try to do some of this targeted demographic stuff. So I go to the bank at this time. It's like Peachtree Bank, and they're like, listen, you got to get a letter to at least say that you got the potential. Because I don't have no money. I'm like, how am I paid? They're like, this marketing is like $6,000 to $10,000. I'm like, yeah, okay. So they're like, just go to the people that you own, that own the facility, and say that you have the potential to make this amount of money. So that allowed me to get a line of credit. So it allowed me to get a line of credit right there. And again, this is kind of where it goes into, like, no one that comes into all this stuff on their own. We all need some assistance at some point. But it was an interesting dynamic here with this. So I get this this line of credit, $6,000, whatever. No, it's a little bit more, but $6,000 I take goes to that's direct mail. So I'm in this facility, with another culture, so I'm in there, and with this in mind, what happens is that I'm hustling, and I start seeing people coming in, but I'm only getting like a person here or there. So this cat pulls me to the side. He's like, hey, Doc, I just want you to know, like, them people that you getting on mail, they coming in with your postcards. But the dude that's owning the facility taking all the people. Oh, word. Like,
stealing customers.
Man, so
Doc stealing customers.
Man, so you getting me in my pocket where I got to pay you. And on top of that, you sit here, you taking my customers. So at that point, and this is the point where you can't be scared to leverage. So like, or move on from situations. Like, so my guy that pulls me to the side, he's like, listen, but I'm thinking about, moving on because some other things going on here. You want to go ahead? Me and him go into business. We opened up probably about couple miles down the road, man, if that, we open up. That's when the real hustle starts, because now it's like, okay, now it's me and him. We in our own facility. Ain't nobody no overhead, no nothing. What's really going on? And it's like, and I'm still, mind you, this 3 months into practice. Now, flip side of that is that now I didn't say that nobody was giving me money in school. So I worked at like Express, the Limited. I was a stock manager. I was doing all this. When I got to chiropractic school, I was working still at the Limit, and I sold cars for CarMax, at the same time during my residency. So I'm working 2-3 jobs.
Right.
When I was in practice, these first 3 months, I'm not making no money. I'm hustling during the day to get patients. And then in the evening, I'm actually going ahead and I'm going to the Limited to work at nighttime. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
so you're in a mall hustle while
right.
Doctor hustle.
I'm an assistant manager at the Limited. And then by day, I'm doctor until I could get my weight up, till I could just branch away from the Limited. So that finally happens. But that happened by actually building a lot of corporate relationships, started meeting a few athletes. Derek Anderson was one of my homeboys from back in the day. I worked with my guys, Jared Lee, and some guys from the Georgia Force. Just different people just started like gravitating toward me. And then that turned into like Andrew Bynum with the Lakers. And then it grew from there. And
into practice.
Yeah, into practice. This is where, so now you start to see, like I'm meeting this person, and I'm taking care of them. Then that deals, and there was a group called One Chance that Usher worked with. I used to work with them, and then that built my relationship with Usher, and that built my relationship with other music execs in the industry.
This is in the first year.
This is all in the first year. This is all happening. This is all happening in the first year of practice.
Well, you started off working the Limited in the nighttime, doctor during the daytime. You're like Bruce Wayne.
Right, exactly. So by the end of my first year, now we going into the second year, I have some of these relationships. And the one thing about, I believe like this, we all operate this way, is that, I mean, everyone, we all human, and that was one of the things that people understood. They understood the spirit. It was like, look, you're looking to help me, you talk to me like a regular person. There's none of this like, different standards. You don't try to take advantage of a person just because this person you treat the same person, the janitor, the same way you treat the multi-millionaire or the athlete. You don't try to charge, and you don't try to overcharge the multi-million-dollar athlete, which you wouldn't charge the janitor. You treat everybody the same, and everything counts. People like, sometimes they'll just try to take advantage of situations or go for these home runs, and that's how you block your blessings. It's like, you got to treat people the same.
Trap bars.
Accord, and that's one of those things. And then when that
integrity
comes, exactly, that integrity, that morale, and then the universe, it brings it all back around to you. You don't have to take advantage of people.
Right.
So, but yeah, so like cycling back, that's what happened. So like, and that started that process of like the network of different people, because from there it turned into word of mouth, and it was like, I was still hustling. Don't get me wrong, because I was like, also I deal a lot with corporations, everything from UPS Cox, McDonald's, you name it. Like, I'm talking about some, like my years, like, and I tell this to my doctors too. I say, it's a side note, man. I got so many stories. Stuff. But one of my, I tell doctors that anyone, like, you got to learn your craft. Especially those first few years, you got to learn that craft, and you got to put that work in. I'm talking about every day. You recharge, but you working every day. And that was one of the things. I had a good friend of mine that was an orthodontist. He actually tried to get me to be an orthodontist when he was doing my braces. And he told me, he said, listen, he had like 20-something offices, like just killing the game. I'm just like, goodness.
20-something offices of orthodontists. You up.
So like me and him sat, he was the first person that exposed me to courtside seats at the Hawks games, because he sat at Hawks games courtside all the time. And he was just like, man, he said, listen, you learn your hustle, learn your practice, and then you worry about expanding and getting all that, but learn your craft first. Exactly.
A lot of times we want to outgrow our own capabilities.
Right. You just like jump in something, and then all of a sudden you just want to do this, and this. Just because you have the ability to expand doesn't mean it's time for you to expand. It's like you have to make sure you formulate that foundation. These are
some real gems, King. Like, for any business owner, any entrepreneur.
Man, and that's one of the things I say is like, in business is always it's transferable, like in a lot of different aspects.
So you really slow grinded, really built a foundation, 16-year career, amazing clientele.
Right.
I know you've made good money doing it.
I've been blessed.
We're going to say millions.
I've been blessed.
And then fast forward to that, you get into this illustrious and kind of like historical launch of this amazing restaurant, Breakfast at Barneys.
Right.
How'd that part come into play?
Man.
For you to get to that opportunity.
You know, so that's a great story. So that goes back to Morris Brown. Heck, I mean, me and Pancho, we met on the steps of Morris Brown. My freshman year, our freshman year, first couple of days, I didn't have a car. I wanted to go get something to eat. He had a car. I said, hey, bro, I'm trying to get some chicken. Hey,
y'all met over food, and now y'all
like hottest circle.
Got the hottest restaurant in the city.
How about that, right? It's crazy. So we met back there, but then throughout the years, support each other, different situations, different ventures, to do certain things here and there, little parties or different things, or I'll be in the behind the scenes side of things. And one day we're sitting, and he's like, man, what do you think about a breakfast thing? Because we would always try to go somewhere. And it was like, man, we couldn't find a place where we wanted to go with the ambiance, the food, the service, the music, just nice scenery. He was like, man, the vibe. And he was like, so he's sitting in my office, literally, and he's like, what do you think about this? And I think about this. I said, you know what? All right, tell me more about it. Let's talk about it. And this goes into that entrepreneurial mode and making sure that you have a diversified portfolio. This also goes into that we all need a little bit of help and we have to back each other up. And I think the problem is that sometimes for us, or just in general, is that everybody wants to be, you got to be secure and know that we're all kings, right? You know, but sometimes everyone's worried about outshining this one or outshining that one, or saying, okay, well, I did this or I got that. We all work together, like, for lack of better terms. I mean, hey, man, like, in this old school stuff, and like, yo, Ed McMahon made as much money as Johnny Carson, bro. Like, it's a lot of money. Like, you don't always have to be in the forefront, but you can support your brothers, you can make things happen, and then y'all can all win together. And so when he came to me and he said that, I was like, okay, let's talk a little bit more about it. Let's start to formulate a plan. You have certain strengths, I have certain strengths. Now let's make it work. And we went over that several months, and then that brought to life, actually, Breakfast at Barney's.
Y'all launched in the pandemic, right?
In the pandemic, man. Like, literally, we talking about
launching a restaurant, social distancing, in the pandemic.
Everybody shutting down. And we signed our lease like in February. Next thing you know, everything's shutting down in March. I'm like, man, now it was a blessing because I haven't had the business experience that I had. Certain things were negotiated into this lease.
Right.
You know, so those things worked out there. But it was like, so everybody going crazy. We sitting there building, they're grinding, they're putting this way. How we going to get this? Make sure these funds are here. Make sure that this is happening. And at that point, we opened, like August, at the end of August, in the middle of the pandemic, man. August like 31st, in the middle of the pandemic. Yeah.
Wow.
Then been open over a year now. Like, and just from day one, just skyrocket.
How successful is it?
Man, we call it a unicorn. We call it a unicorn. And anyone in the food industry, like, people come and they're just like people, it takes people several, like, they aspire or dream to even have a restaurant or a situation like this. And they say some people, it may take them their fourth or fifth. Some people never even reach the pinnacle or the part that we're in at our, pretty much our inception. Wow. Like, so, like, when we say we like a top restaurant, really top restaurant, but like you said, blessed, because, you know, God had his hands on it and all worked, because this was not like a singular thing. In the God universe, everything all working together with this situation. And that's why it's so important to exude that that same energy and make sure you still have that same giving capacity, because that's the foundation of it all.
Yeah, that's what I sense from you and family. We're going to do a part of an episode, King, that's called the trap analysis, right? Kind of my trap translation. And like Dr. Sanford here has been able to make it through the main streets of Philly, avoid the corner trap, leverage the college trap to get a skill, right? And multiple skills, but also to beat essentially the corporate trap and not get sucked into just because I have a degree or a title or designation that now I'm all set for life and that's it, right? Go to school, get good grades, get a job, right?
Right.
But was able to leverage that immediately from college, right? So now you're leveraging the college trap.
Right.
So the college trap, it can work for our advantage. It doesn't have to entice and tangle us if we're actually getting a usable skill and we're thinking about a legacy mindset, right? And an ownership mindset especially, or a career in which we can build off of, right?
Absolutely.
And so Dr. Sanford was able to do that, Doc Smooth, and keep that entrepreneur mindset he learned from 10 years old and younger, to then go on to a 16-year career, and just multiple relationships. I think the relationship side, the integrity side, and like that moral compass side, I think is what's been really serving you well. And I know that from just being a client of yours.
Right.
Like from the time I'm giving you a testimony here, by the time I went to his office, he treated me the same and treated me like I would expect my doctor to treat me. So it wasn't like a vibe of like, yo, we so cool and homeboy and all that, but it was still a high level of professionalism. I'm still comfortable, but I knew I got taken care of well, and there was an expertise there, and you were taking care of my physical, my body, right? And so I felt great as a client and customer. And then Sane was able to leverage your relationships with King Pancho, Barney, and just others through your years to be able to launch this unicorn of a restaurant, breakfast at Barneys. But I think, like you said, it's all in the spirit.
Right.
I feel like it's all in the spirit. And so because of that, King Doc has been able to just be all the royalty and excellence you guys see ahead of you, but the grind, right? This wasn't no layup. This wasn't
still
no
a grind.
The man said he was working at the Limited at night and a doctor during the day. Most of y'all would not do that. You'd think you'd be too entitled to think that because I'm a doctor, I shouldn't be doing this. I don't need to do this.
Man, that's fair.
And I think you really beat the entitlement trap.
Yeah. Definitely.
You know, a lot of us get caught in ego and pride of titles and designations and don't want to do the grunt work and the hard work. So I want to commend you on that for real.
Appreciate that, brother.
Absolutely. All right, so let's segue into our trap seat, right? Before our trap seat, our trap transition. So this is a part where, has there been a time during your journey that there was an aha moment that stood out that you knew, like during college or even high school, or any of those days even coming to your career, but where you knew, like, just being a regular doctor, just being in the corporate world, that any of that just ain't for me, that I got bigger aspirations than just this? Was like a moment that stood out?
You know what? Yes, I would say, so when I started, I had my partner, and we were going back and forth to LA at this time. We were working with like the Lakers, like different Laker players and stuff. And he kind of got, he was more so like kind of stuck with just working with this player. And then I started working on like multiple offices at this time. And I was seeing, I was like, okay, yeah, we're progressing, but now I'm starting to get exposed to other things. And I'm like, I need this money to work for me faster and more efficient ways, because, you know, it's that personality or that presence dependent business, but I need to actually leverage some other things so that I can make it, because
it all requires you.
It requires me. There was one point where like I had 3 offices. I had an office in I had the perimeter office. Then I also had an office in Marietta, and then I also had an office in like Peachtree City, Tyrone. And one of my guys that was an NFL agent asked me to come into that office. So they were like, so I'm working like these 6 days a week at this time, and I'm going like 6 a.m. to the gym office in Marietta, working there, then hustling from there over to perimeter office and working there for a few hours. And then by the afternoon, I'm sitting in rush hour traffic at 4 o'clock trying to get down to like Tyrone, Peachtree City area to actually go to this office down near that my NFL agent guy has. And I'm sitting in the car and I'm like, yo, I'm driving all over the place,
this
like, oh man, this not it. Like, it sounds good to have 3 offices and you doing this, but you got to learn how to work smarter, you know, not as hard. So what else can we do outside of this? Now it's time for us to like take some of this money and leverage it and start doing some other things. And that started me working with some stocks and some other things that I wish I would have done even earlier, because we all know the power of compound interest.
Right.
You know, time is our money's best friend. It's from that side of things. But But it started to show me that, and then it was like, okay, let's also see what else we can do, because my whole thing was always to use, even when I didn't know exactly where I wanted to go with it, like you said, leverage that college trap. So it was to take this foundation and use chiropractic as a means to make money, to then open up other businesses and do other things.
Right. So that was like your anchor business.
That was my anchor business. But when I was driving all around and I'm sitting in that car in that trap, I'm like, all right.
That Atlanta traffic will be a defining moment for you. Atlanta traffic will give you some time to think.
Yeah. I was like, there's got to be a better way to figure this out. So
Awesome. All right, so let's put you in a trap seat real quick, man.
Okay.
Trap seat is our hot seat. And
right.
our trap seat segment is called Trap Blown.
Okay.
And trap blown is where we blow the trap up. And it's also you blowing you up a little bit, right? So trap blown is kind of fun. So I'm gonna give you two scenarios, right? Okay. So one scenario, give us one like amazing moment, whether it's like a point in business, whether it's a point with a certain client, whether it's a point in your personal life, etc., that was just mind blowing to you, that'll blow our minds. Like something you did where you're just like, yo, wow, I can't even believe I'm here right now.
Okay.
Do you have one of those moments?
I mean, I think a couple of those moments I give for one of the past and the current. I mean, shoot, when you sitting in there in the Staples Center with the Lakers, that's one. But then the other thing, I'm in the studio and it's like I got Usher and he's at pinnacle of his career, and then you're sitting there, but I got a chiropractic table out here and I'm taking care of people. You're sitting there like, everybody ain't doing this. Like,
right.
That's not regular. And then even with the restaurant, it was, shout out to Tip Bort. And Randy, I'm familiar with Chris Tucker and some of his family from in the past. And so Tip brings Chris Tucker, Dave Chappelle, all these people. And we outside of shout out to King. And we sitting outside of the restaurant. And it's like, you got Dave Chappelle, Chris Tucker, everybody. We sitting here, they're like, man, all these cats.
In your restaurant.
Cool, we chopping it up. Everybody, it's like, man, that's dope. Like,
that's trap blown right there. Like, yo, not many people get to have T.I., Chris Tucker, Dave Chappelle at their own restaurant.
Man. Right.
In the city, breaking bread.
Right, breaking bread. So again, shout out to those kings for that. And that was
kid from Philly.
Right.
Morris Brown.
Right. It's like, you know what? This is what we wanted. So that's that reward.
Work hard for.
Exactly.
All the days in the limited, all of that.
Right. It starts to kind of come together there.
Awesome. All right, so you're a dapper, man. You fly, man. You do your thing.
I keep up with you, man.
I was like, your new name is Doc Smooth. That's your new name, Doc Smooth.
Look, I already know what I'm dealing with you here, man.
All right. So this part of Trap Blow, man, tell us, right? You got to break a little humility here. You got to tell us the time you enjoyed yourself, right? Could be a weekend, could be a day or whatever. But we want to talk about, tell us one of the biggest bags you blew.
Oh, my. I don't know if that's a good idea.
He said, oh, my. You know it's real. Yeah. You're in the trap. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, we're going to go with just a nice situation. I had a great time in Cayman Islands. I'm just going to say that. I went down there because, man, you trying to have me on the hot seat for real. But no, Cayman Islands, took the lovely wife down there. We stayed, top-notch, top-notch resort. It was Jazz Festival. We stayed right there with all the stars. Joe.
It's beautiful. Joe.
Yeah, Joe, Brian, nice Shaka Khan. We all socializing, hanging out with them. So it was just a real nice place. Just all carte blanche treatment. Had a chance to do a nice amount of shopping down there. I'm not going to disclose those numbers, but... yeah, it was a nice time. I'm just going to say, exactly, we'll say that one. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, Doc Smooth, right? Blew a little Cayman Island bag.
Yeah, go with that one. Undisclosed amount there.
Awesome. Okay, that was amazing. So, as we got you in the trap seat, we want to get some gems from you, man. And if you were either talking to a younger you or it could be a young doctor, a young entrepreneur, somebody in college right now that doesn't want to get caught in that trap, what would you say to a younger you or somebody that's like looking in entrepreneurship, trying to figure out the grind, trying to figure out the career path, and just trying to again, be at the levels that, you know, you've been able to go? Like, what's some trap advice, some trap cheat sheet you can kind of give them?
You know, I think for one, you always have to you have to have that humility and that moral compass. Like that's a must. You know, never get too big. Never feel that, you know, you're above doing anything, because humble beginners, there's nothing wrong with that at all. Learn the power of money and finances. You know, learn how to leverage things, because if I could go back in time, I would have took some of that money. Like, for example, when you're in school, like in that college trap, and this is how to get you in debt as well, is that you get, for example, you get a refund check, right? And you get this refund check, you're like, oh man, I'm rich. So like,
it's free money.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, so you going out, you hanging out, you doing this, you going to club or whatever it may be. Girls or like ladies, they may be going and buying clothes and stuff like that. But if you would take some of that money at this super low interest rate and sit there and invest that, take $1,000, $500, invested that into some stocks, you know, some crypto, some bond, whatever it may be.
Some real estate.
Exactly. But that's why, like some real estate, couple of y'all get together and y'all take that money. Like, I sit there and I think about it, man. I went to school in Morrisburg, in the AUC, at the West End. I say, if I would have took some of that money and bought some of those properties right now, you write your own ticket when you do those particular things. But that, like, yes, as far as going back, and then just stay true to yourself. You're like, don't get lost, because it's easy so many times to get lost, whether it's you may get down on yourself, you know, you may get too high on yourself, but you, like, I kind of try to keep this like this kind of like this level field. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, you know, life is going to give you those challenges. You know, you're going to have those peaks and valleys,
right?
You know, but you got to understand you still here. So you're going to come out of it at some point.
Right.
It's
wait
just,
that thing out
you just gotta ride the wave, man, and just know that there's always a lesson in it. And I think that's the thing that we don't always see, that there's a lesson, because you're just in the midst of the storm. But as you grow older and you mature, you know that there's something coming out of it.
Yeah, you know, and I think that's, I want to say, I think you've been able to beat the culture trap, because a lot of times someone has your level of success, level of notoriety, relationships, celebrity friends, your own celebrity, etc. Their head blow up. It becomes a pride and ego thing, and and all that, and you just maintain. Every time I see you, maintain an even keel level of, you know, humility, right? And I think that's something that a lot of us get caught in, especially as black men. We get this macho black man, I'm the boss, I'm the king syndrome, because we made a few million or did something successful in business. So now we just overly feeling ourselves.
Right.
And with all that you've accomplished from humble beginnings, you've been able to just, you know, just maintain a great reputation, a great even keel, right? A great servitude mentality. And I think that's something that we all could benefit from in beating the culture trap, because the culture tells us as black men, the more you make, have more bravado, right? Have that whole Nino Brown complex, you know what I'm saying? All of that. And I think you've done a great job leading by example, showing us how we can, you know, still live good, feel good, you know, enjoy ourselves, all that, but to serve our brothers and sisters at the same time.
Exactly.
And don't gotta be feeling ourselves too much or be low on ourselves either. You ain't gotta be, you know, in the poorhouse.
Like, no, we gonna be right, but you know, but you gotta make sure you can't forget where you come from, and you gotta bring your brothers and sisters up with you.
That's amazing, man.
In whatever capacity you can do it. Don't have to be always money. It could be just a word.
Absolutely, that's a fact. The word sometimes uplifts somebody. Absolutely. So you know what? Leave us with, thank you for the trap cheat sheet. Please leave everybody where they can find you, any of the businesses, all that, where they can tap in with Doc Sanford, aka Doc Smooth.
Dr. Rashad Sanford at Dr. Sanford, Sanford 21. That's the Instagram. The businesses, Atlanta Spine Doctors with the S at the end. That's www.atlantaspinedoctors with the S. The same thing on Instagram. And then you have Breakfast at Barneys, www.breakfastatbarneys.com. Instagram of that is _Breakfast at Barneys. Check us out on all those platforms. You can Google us, whatever you need to do, but make sure you come and support. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. You know we're going to support.
Definitely appreciate
in real life. Yes, my brother. family, you guys come to Atlanta, you gotta tap
Please
in and
do.
get that breakfast at Barneys. And seriously,
Please
if
do.
you want to feel good and healthy, get that adjustment with Atlanta
do.
Spine Doctors. This is my doctor right here. And guys, we just got some game from one of the super talented 10th, one of the elite, who's also even keel, giving back and leading by example, Doc Smooth, aka Dr. Sanford. Thank you again for joining us here in the trap, man. Looking so good and royal in the trap. This is my guy. Family, you guys just witnessed it here, man. For anybody's aspiring medical professional, aspiring entrepreneur, we got an example in the community right here in real life. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast, share this podcast to somebody that needs it, learn some lessons and pull from Doc, and I'll see you guys on our next episode. Again, subscribe, share to the podcast on all platforms, and you just witnessed another episode of How to Beat the Trap in real life.
Hey, peace family, it's Jay Morrison, co-founder of the Legacy Center here in Atlanta, Georgia. And I want to invite you all to be a virtual member of our building, our Class A office space, also known as the Black House. From anywhere in the world, you can house your business here in Atlanta, Georgia, and have your virtual address be our address. Get your own suite number. You also can get our virtual notary services, our virtual receptionist services, have a telephone line for your team, and get access to our meeting rooms, conference rooms, and get 1 day per month to actually visit our building and house your business here in real life. Family, this opportunity is just $40 per month or $300 for the year. A super discount for you to be able to have a Class A office space, house your business address 2 miles from Tyler Perry's studio, 5 minutes from the world's busiest airport, right here in amazing Atlanta, Georgia, at legacycenter.com.